As you can see, I'm going to give a quick talk. It's a non-technical discussion. It's more about kind of the business side of casual games. Again, another one of the things I see when talking to Unity developers is folks don't often understand the options that they have. You've got a great game. We've heard all these ideas about how to do your shading, shadows, performance, and everything. What do you do with that when you're done? Where do you take that game? Folks ask, how am I supposed to make money off this? So I wanted to give a few tips, talk about a few options that folks have for how you can, take your games to market and actually get it in front of people and hopefully make a little money off of it. The real quick start, the quick question of, why casual games? What's so good about this market that we're in? It's a rapidly expanding market. It's now a, $1 billion a year industry on its own. It used to be kind of a sideshow to the main console games industry, and now with all the portal sites and publishers and folks out there playing games, it's a massive industry that we're a part of. And so the small-time developer, the aggressive individual or small shop has a real chance to have a viable business and get themselves up and running. A few of the reasons for that is casual titles tend to be obviously smaller in scope and expectation compared to a AAA console title. So the artwork effort, the level design effort keeps it within range, an appropriate time and resource allocation budget so that the smaller development shop can make it. As I said, it's a massive industry that's growing really fast. So very clearly there's some good revenue potential. Folks are able to put out games and make decent amounts of money, make a living off being a casual game developer. If you're like me, my mom always said that you'll never make money with games, and here we are having a conference about it. And then finally, the key element that I want to talk about today is that there are some available distribution channels. When you look at major console games or AAA desktop titles, it's kind of a bit more difficult to find a publisher that's going to take that up from a small development shop. Whereas in the casual space, we got a lot of great channels to use right off the bat that are ready and waiting to take your content and give you a really good chance to succeed. And so today I really want to talk about some of those opportunities, give you an idea how to work with them, point out a few of the folks that we have in the room. So if you have some questions about working with a specific publisher or portal, you know who to talk to today. So, some folks are lucky that they get a client that comes to them and says, we want to pay you to make a particular game for us, or you're doing client-specific work in some way. And in that case, it's really nice. You're not worrying about a distribution channel. Somebody's come to you and says, please make me this game. You work out a budget and a payment, and you're off and running. So that's really a non-concern. But most of us at some point are going to be making a game where you want to know what to do with it. Where do I take this game? And so there's really kind of two big buckets when I looked at this. There's kind of what I'm going to label the bad at first. It's not all that bad. And then a good. The first that a lot of folks like to think about is that they might try and do some kind of self-publishing. Folks want to set up their own destination site. They want to distribute games from their own online portal. And I think that's a great goal. I mean, we all have to start somewhere. Every site that's out there had to begin as its first day. But the downsides to that are actually quite big for somebody that's first getting into this industry. You take on a lot of roles besides just being a game developer. Suddenly you have to maintain a website. You have to build out an online store. You have to deal with marketing and sales and building a customer base and doing tech support. And these are all things that the existing publishers and portals have spent years and countless sums of money developing. And that's a long lead time for a lot of small development shops that maybe most of us can't survive that 3, 4, 5 year period it's going to take to get a lot of people coming to you and have the infrastructure to handle. So self-publishing brings a lot of costs onto you that at first might not seem like they're going to be that bad, but in the long run, it's going to be a bit much for folks to handle. So the second bucket, besides doing it yourself, is using the existing portals and publishers that are there, because they've already done that work. They've already spent the money. They already have the marketing machine, the support network, the forums for game players to go to. And so you as a game developer can focus on just doing the game work and let them focus on this. They're experts at it already, and so why not leverage that and build on top of what they already have and get yourself going faster, get yourself in front of thousands or millions of users right away instead of chasing dozens or hundreds as you try to build traction around your own website. So you're going to start working with these folks. You're going to get a game up and running. You're kind of doing some preparation in your development work, and there's some key things to think about when making casual games, and you're going to take it to these folks for why they're going to choose your game. Why are they going to publish your title or host your content on their site? So this is just going to be kind of a quick hit list that I've actually gleaned from talking with these folks directly. So these are tips coming from the portals and publishers themselves as to what makes them ready to take on content and more readily accept it. The first one is you really got to think about your target audience. What kind of a game are you making? Who are you going to try to sell to? Because some of this can determine which portal or publisher do you go to. Are you doing a racing or action game like RC Laser Warrior? It really appeals to a younger audience that really wants more of that action style game. Or are you going for a puzzle time management style game? Because that's going to appeal to a different set of folks. That will kind of guide your choices of whether you want to push it as a web-based online game or is it going to be a downloadable title. Action adventure games tend to do better online, whereas puzzles, time management maybe do a little better as downloadables. The folks that are here, I'll point them out later, can kind of give you some better guidance on that. But it's critical to think about your target audience from the get-go so you know you're targeting the right deployment option. The second one with all casual games, whether online, downloadables, you want to keep it simple. I mean, these are games that, me, I like playing my console games. I don't mind learning the complex controls for Halo or whatnot. So that's okay for me. But in the casual space, you're dealing with a whole different set of folks. And so it's really good to keep the controls simple. The advice I've heard is that you should try and make it so that reading the instructions isn't necessary. They should be as simple and straightforward as possible. That way you attract a lot of folks that jump in and can be playing your game in 5 minutes and don't have to burn that first 15 minutes of time figuring out which keys they use to do what. So really critical to keep it simple. And then following on that, make it familiar. You might figure out some wacky key combination that you like to use for control sets. That's great for you, but it's probably not going to be good for a wide audience. The mass audience likes the mouse and some arrow keys or maybe WASD because that's very standardized. So it's good to try and think about breaking out of the box, but when you do that, you're taking a bit of a risk that you're going to lose folks in that process. So really keeping it focused on simple and familiar controls is a big win. And when you go to a portal or publisher, they're going to have that same first 5-minute experience when they play your demo. And if they get frustrated or can't figure it out, you've just lost a lot of potential to get published with those folks. The next kind of goes on to gameplay. We all like to make beautiful levels, have it be a lot of fun. And you really got to think about rewarding the player. That's why we play games. It's fun. It gives us something back. Either you enjoy the racing aspect or blowing stuff up or whatever. You need to keep giving them feedback. And it's good to give it fast, often, and early. And then you could start to spread it out so that they've got kind of long-term potential. You can't burn it all in the first 5 minutes. You got to save something for later. But it's important that as you're going along, you want to make sure that there's always something they're working towards. There's always something they're going to be able to get. Because that's going to keep people coming back for the next one, which is about replayability. I've played a lot of games where I don't get much out of it, and I do that first 1 or 2, 3 plays that I get on the trial, and I feel like I'm done. You want to keep them coming back. So you really need to keep folks coming here to think about what's going to keep them coming back to the game, multiplayer type stuff or whatnot. So that's definitely a critical item for replayability. Next is looking to reach a wide audience. Now this doesn't apply in all cases, so I should probably have a little asterisk over this. If you create very niche, small target markets, that doesn't have as much appeal. And you go to a publisher who wants to sell bucket loads of a game title or wants massive downloads. If it's too narrow in focus, they're going to be less inclined to take it because they want it to sell and be popular. So you need to really think about it to try not to narrow it down too much. And I guess that kind of fits in with thinking about the target audience, is try and make it as broad appeal as possible. You can't please everyone. My mom doesn't want to play the same game as I do, as the same game as you do. But really think about trying to keep as broad of an appeal on that as possible. Moving into some of your own development efforts, less about the games and whatnot, is really to focus your efforts. I've seen some games that have this amazing initial cutscene between 2 levels that they spend a lot of time on, but the gameplay on either side is really not very entertaining. That stuff gets old in a hurry, And so you want to make sure that when you're doing your development, what are the things that really keep people coming back and playing your game? It's not going to be that cutscene, because the second time I see it, I'm going to press a key and skip it. So it's nice to put that in there. It adds some good eye candy, some sugar for folks. But when it comes down to it, keep your development effort there smaller, focus on the gameplay, and then if you have time for that later, go ahead and go for it. Those are nice add-ons. But what's really critical is gameplay quality, the user interaction, your artwork. That kind of basic stuff is really what's going to make a game good and keep people coming back. Not the cutscene, not some intro animation that, again, people tend to skip the second or third time around. And then the last one on this list is to test early and test often. We've heard about this, whether it was dialing in physics. These are things where you want to test the game for functionality and bugs, and you want to test it for gameplay. If you wait too far into the process, you might lose some ability to do tweaks or modifications. And it's important to get folks that haven't been embedded in the development process, maybe get strangers, folks you don't know. Matt gave a good talk about how you really get accustomed to the gameplay, and you kind of lose sight of, is it too sensitive or is it too twitchy, because you start adapting to it, so naturally you like it, you're making it. Get somebody that's never seen it before to come in. It'd be nice if you could grab a stranger off the street. That's not always possible, but get somebody besides yourself or your team, and do that at different stages so that you know along the way you're on the right path. If you can catch it early that you're maybe not doing the right gameplay or it's not quite enjoyable, that lets you make the shift early on, and hopefully that makes it a bit less expensive for you to kind of reconstruct the game in a way that folks are really going to find entertaining. So these are all just kind of good bullet points to think about, and if you kind of keep these in your mind, you're better prepared to have a publisher say, that's the kind of game I want, because these are the things that keep casual game players coming back to a game, and that's going to bring customers, that's going to help you have a more successful product, and they're going to be more prone to taking your submission. So really do keep these in mind. Now you've got your game, right? You're ready, you've thought about these things, you've been a good student. Now you want to take a game and submit it to somebody. There's still a few things you need to think about before you approach an online portal or a publisher that'll help match you better with them and see if you're going to be the right fit in terms of working with those folks. So the first thing is, come prepared. I think we maybe all have a little bit of a dream that we're the right salesperson. If I just write this great idea down on a piece of paper and go explain it, they're going to see my vision. It's this fabulous idea. That quite often really just doesn't sell. Nothing sells more than a playable demo, right? I mean, it didn't take more than 2 minutes of showing some of the games this morning, and people were probably thinking, wow, I want to play that. If I describe some of those games on paper, you might think, oh, that sounds neat, but it's really in the execution that the game idea comes through. So before you go talk to a lot of these publishers, if at all possible, it's nice to have a demo. It doesn't have to be full and feature complete. It doesn't have to have all the levels. It just needs to give a feel of the gameplay that you're going for. So when you sit down and show it to them, they really understand what you're going for, the type of game you're going to create. So it's a really, really good idea to come prepared in that sense. Know who you're working with. If you just kind of shotgun spam everybody out there, you're probably going to go to a lot of folks that, they don't quite have the right market. Again, this fits in with that think about your target audience. Who are you going to? Who do they tend to feature? An example is Shockwave.com and Addicting Games. They kind of have a bit of a difference in the types of content they host versus maybe if you go to a different site. So, really think about the person you're going to, their target audience. Does your game fit with the type of content they have on your site? If it's somebody that's really focusing on, the teenage or the tween set, that's maybe not the best environment for, a blood and guts first-person shooter. That's a pretty extreme example, but it's a good thing to think about that you're going to the right person to show them your content. And the final one is to understand the kind of business models they have. And this is where I think a lot of folks that I see in getting into the casual space don't really understand, well, how do I make money? Where is this thing? Are they going to give me an upfront payment? Is this the kind of thing where they say, here's a check, go make a game and come back, or they're going to buy it off you? Is it sales revenue share for every box that gets sold off the shelf? You get your slice. Advertising revenue share, obviously the dominant way for online portal games. All those little ads around there, how they make their money, so you typically get a little slice of that. Or is there some kind of premium play opportunity? You have a basic game and then there's some kind of an upsell. And now I got told to do this before, and that's part of replayability, is to have something to grow into. A lot of sites have it where you need to have a premium game. I want to be able to customize my car now. If a site has a subscription model where I pay every month to be a premium member, maybe that's a nice chance to offer them an extra add-on because that definitely appeals to them in a different way. So you got to really understand who you're going to, because if you walk in expecting an upfront payment and they really do more of an ad or sales revenue share, you're kind of setting yourself up for a little disappointment, maybe frustration, and might not be the best use of your time or their time. So to really target the folks that are going to work in the way that you want to work with them. And again, a lot of folks that are out there don't seem to understand this last part of the business side. So it's really key, and it's good to email them, ask them, talk to them while you're here, so you know who you're going to be approaching. Very, very important to do. So, that's kind of a quick rundown of some good things to think about. So who's out there? Unity, we're still a bit of a new kid on the block compared to some other technologies that are out there. But there's a lot of available channels. I've been telling you guys about this already. So who are some of the folks that you can work with? I'm going to start off by naming 3 folks that are here. They've had folks here all week. This is your last chance to talk to them today. So I want to make sure to call them out in specific. As I've mentioned, Addicting Games and Shockwave.com. We've got some folks sitting over here. If you guys might want to raise your hands, they can see. So they're here from there. If you want to show them your game, if you want to talk to them about what it's like to work with them, very popular pair of websites, millions of users a month, fabulous collection of games, and they've got a large user base. If you want to tap into that, they're the ones to go talk to. Second group, we got Bruce over here in the corner from Freeverse. They do some downloadable game publishing. They also do box product. They're also developing out a Mac-focused game portal website, macfun.com. So they've got some great opportunities to do downloadables or, again, box product via 2 different websites. So talk to Bruce if you're interested. We've got a few folks that have already worked with them with Unity as well. The third that we have here, Ultimate Arcade, we've got Vince. They are a recent adopter of Unity, and they really want to pick it up. And they're open to folks submitting games to their website as well. Again, a large catalog of games, large volume of users. So again, you're really able to get in front of thousands, millions of people in a hurry without having to kind of track them to your site. So these 3 in particular, they're here. So this is a key opportunity for you to spend some time with them, show them your content, get some immediate feedback of whether you're doing things right or wrong, if you've got some good potential or not. That's not all. I mean, there's others. Big Fish Games in particular, they're open to accepting content, typically downloadables. Gamehouse and Real Arcade, they're also ready to accept Unity authored content. So, you've got a nice collection there. We're working on a few others. Congregate has expressed interest in hosting content. They were waiting for the 2.0 release. Now that it's out, we're going to go ahead and spin that up with them. So they should be open to hosting content soon. And we're going to keep chipping away and want to expand the number of opportunities you guys have. Because again, it lets you tap into it real easy. If you want to build that own destination site, use this to make some money in the meantime while you're building out the dream game or dream site. And we're going to post these up. Don't worry about writing these all down right now. These are some great URLs to going out and checking out the sites themselves, where to go get information about actually submitting content. If you don't get a chance to talk to them today, this will be available for you guys to look at and go get some information on your own afterwards.